guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to achieve this look. It's my natural glam everyday makeup look. It's definitely not like a no makeup look or a 10-minute makeup look. It's definitely a lot more steps, but it looks very natural. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started. For my base, I'm going to take my current favorite foundation, which is the NARS Sheer Glow foundation. This is so beautiful. It's so thin and lightweight on the skin. You literally don't feel like you're really wearing foundation, but it gives good medium coverage. For an everyday makeup look, I recommend going in with less. Less is more. So just apply a thin layer, and if you need more, you can always add more, but it's more difficult to take it away than it is to add more. And of course, prior to going into foundation, you want to make sure that your skin is adequately hydrated. Make sure you wash your face, moisturize, apply your skincare, your sunscreen, and then go in with foundation. Foundation is never going to look as good on top of skin that's not hydrated. Just go in with your favorite foundation. Anything will do. If you prefer something more dewy, go with something more dewy. If you prefer something a little bit more matte, then definitely go in with something more matte. I like this one because it's kind of the perfect middle of the road. It's not too sheer, it's not too full coverage, it's like a medium coverage. It's not too dewy, it's not too matte. This lasts a really long time on my skin, but it also looks really natural because it has that beautiful light reflecting property, and it also doesn't sink into fine lines, wrinkles, pores, anything like that. It's very seamless and smooth on the skin, so I really love this foundation. But again, use whatever your current favorite foundation is for every day, whatever you feel the most comfortable in. Concealing is a vital step. That way you don't have to use as much foundation. If you spot conceal areas that are a little bit darker, if you have any active breakouts, you can just go in with concealer and spot conceal those, and that'll really do most of the work for you. So I really like this concealer because, again, it's like the perfect middle of the road concealer. It's not too dewy, and it's not too matte. It's not very sheer to where it's like a no makeup look, but it's also not super full coverage like a glam look. This is medium coverage, and it gives you a satin finish. For every day, I don't want too much of anything. I want it to be very natural. I don't want to be glowing to the high heavens, but I also don't want to be like super matte and glam. So for me personally, something middle of the road, medium coverage, satin finish, long wearing, gets the job done, but looks still natural in everyday life is what I prefer. And I always like to take my finger or a sponge after I've spread it out with a brush, just to press it in and make sure there's no brush streaks. This way it looks the most natural and seamless. Before I set, I'm going to go in with some cream products. So I'm going to take my cream bronzer. This one is from Fenty Beauty. I like this one because, again, it's very natural. It's a little bit more on the sheer side, but still buildable and impactful. And we're not doing any like harsh sculpting here. We're just adding a little bit of definition to the face, just because sometimes foundation can make your face look one-dimensional, and this will just help add a little bit of structure back. So you don't have to go like too hard, too heavy-handed. Just a little bit of color, a little bit of shape to the face is all you need. On that same brush, I'm going to take my blush. This is from Melt Cosmetics. This is their cream Blushlight in the shade Golden Hour, and I love blush on an everyday basis. I feel like it really makes you look healthy and awake and youthful, so blush is a necessity for me, and I like to just apply it mainly to the apples of my cheeks. So for me, I feel like going across the center of the face to give you that sunburn look is very natural, or just keeping it to where you would naturally flush the apples of the cheeks tends to look the most natural in my opinion. So that's what I like to do personally. If you really want that lifted appearance, definitely go ahead and apply it more to the almost to the top of the cheekbones and up to the temple. But for me, I feel like that's more of a glam sort of placement. I would use that for more of a glam editorial look. Now it's time to set. I'm going to take my Moira Set and Correct Finishing Powder. This is amazing if you have dry skin. It's supposed to be a color correcting powder. The shades are not super pigmented, so don't be super like afraid of that. It's not going to look purple or red on your skin. It's really just a soft blurring powder that feels super lightweight and it's not drying at all. So I actually like to take my beauty blender or your sponge, and I will dip it directly into the powder and just get a thin layer You can use a powder puff if you prefer. I feel like if you have dry skin, this is a necessity because sometimes brushes can flick up any dry patches you might have, and they just don't fully press the powder into the skin, whereas a beauty blender or a powder puff is really going to melt that powder in with the liquid products that you have. It's really going to press it in and make it look super smooth and seamless. So I recommend using a sponge or a beauty puff or a powder puff, but again, whatever method of application you prefer, definitely do that. I'm just going to use a little bit to set under the eyes, and I like to set right around here too where I have larger pores because this helps to blur that area. And I'm not sure if you can tell fully on camera, but I feel like this side just looks a lot more flattened out. I do have some hollowness under my eyes, which I like to sort of camouflage, so powder helps to kind of smooth and blur that area, and it also is going to help your products to last longer. Make sure you tap out any creases so you don't set those in place. And I'm not swiping, I'm just gently pressing that powder in. I definitely like to set the nose as well. I feel like I touch my nose a lot throughout the day, so foundation tends to rub off there, and I will definitely set the T-zone area. With this foundation in particular, I don't personally feel like I need to set the rest of my face because it does dry down a bit. If you have very, very oily skin, or if you're using something a little bit more dewy, definitely go ahead and set the rest of your face. I really like the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Translucent Setting Powder because it will set your makeup, but it won't take away that radiant or glowy finish that you might have. It makes it look very natural. It's like the Hourglass Ambient Light Setting Powders, so definitely recommend that one if you're looking for a good setting powder. So for eyes, I usually like to keep it pretty simple on an everyday basis. I've been loving this little tiny eyeshadow palette from LA Colors. It's their Radiant Beauty palette. And personally, for every day, I usually just go with a matte look. Sometimes I'll just take my bronzer and my blush and sweep it through the crease and call it a day. Sometimes if I want to amp it up just a little bit, I will take this bone or ivory colored matte shadow, sweep that all over the lid, take this neutral brown and pop it through the crease, and then take a darker brown shadow just to define the eyes with a bit of liner, and maybe even go in with my Bobbi Brown gel liner in black brown just to add a subtle bit of definition to the lash line. I also like to take a pencil liner and just tightline the upper waterline just to again add a little bit of definition to the root of my lashes. And I feel like this just adds subtle definition to my eye without looking too overdone or being too distracting for an everyday basis. And then I will just pop on some mascara, maybe add a lash if I'm feeling extra floaty and glam, and call it a day.